Batman Arkham City is a great game. I know, you've probably heard that one before, right? Arkham City did exactly what it should have done. It took Arkham Asylum's game-changing gameplay and story and built upon it, expanded it, and in the process created arguably the best gaming sequel to date. However, Arkham City has flaws. It has low points like the game that came before. Batman himself is too stoic, the map's weirdly laid out, etc. But this isn't what people remember about the game. Arkham City is a generation-defining masterpiece, and I don't say that lightly. The game's impact can still be felt today, over 12 years after its first release, and as someone who's played the game at least, well, an embarrassingly large amount of times, I think it's time I threw my proverbial cowl in the ring. So, with that out of the way, welcome to Batman Arkham City, a retrospective. Batman Arkham City builds off of everything Asylum did 2 years prior. It takes the groundbreaking combat system and deepens it. It takes the story and deepens it. What Arkham City does is all about depth. It takes Arkham Asylum's winning formula and chucks new elements in, to create something larger in scope, bigger in scale, and tighter in execution. This isn't to put Asylum down, not by any means. What Asylum did for superhero games and action-adventure games as a whole can't be understated. So whenever I mention Asylum, I'm not knocking it. Much like Rocksteady Studios themselves, I'm using Asylum as a measuring stick. First, let's get a brief idea of the story. Professor Hugo Strange, formerly a renowned psychiatrist at the now-closed Arkham Asylum, goes to the warden of the asylum, Quincy Sharp, and Strange went to Sharp and told him he had powerful friends. Ooh. And all he needed to do was turn a blind eye to Strange's quote-unquote experiments and continue campaigning to become the mayor of Gotham, as he'd been trying to do for a few months now. Taking the credit for Batman's heroics of putting the Joker away back in Batman Arkham Asylum to win over the general public, Strange funded Sharp's campaign, and all Sharp needed to do was set up Arkham City. He got the city government to buy out the slums of Gotham and wall it off. Sharp would then place Hugo Strange in charge. We find out as the story goes on that Hugo Strange wasn't the only one behind this scheme. Ra's al Ghul, a long-time adversary of Batman, had gone to Sharp to team up on the whole project, as they shared the same thought process of, well, if you kill all the criminals, well, crime ceases to exist. And the two devised Protocol 10, a plan to kill all the occupants of Arkham City in one fell swoop and rid Gotham City of its worst disease. I know that sounds a little bit confusing with all of the names thrown in there, so let's simplify it a bit. Hugo Strange, with the backing of Ra's al Ghul, goes to the warden and soon-to-be mayor of Gotham City, Mayor Quincy Sharp, and manipulates him over the course of several months to take the credit for Batman's work on the night the Joker took over Arkham Island. He'd use this to then campaign, win over the citizens of Gotham and become mayor. He'd shut the asylum and use the city's money to buy the slums of Gotham, build a prison in the heart of the city and put Strange in charge, and at that point Strange and Ra's al Ghul would activate Protocol 10 to wipe Gotham City of all of its criminals. Now, most of these details we don't find out until much later in the story, but the story begins with Bruce Wayne campaigning for the closure of Arkham City, before at his rally he gets captured by Tiger, Hugo Strange's private militia, and he gets taken into the prison. Before, in an encounter with Hugo Strange, we find out Strange knows who Batman is. That's Bruce Wayne! And we gather this is the reason Strange captured him in the first place. Now, I'm sure you have a lot of questions regarding the setup for this, and yeah, it doesn't make much real-world sense, but at the end of the day, this is a video game. A video game surrounding a man in fat spandex fighting a clown, an angry scientist, and Paul Dano. So, does it really matter? No, it doesn't, and if you think it does, then I think you're kind of doing yourself a bit of a disservice. Anyway, this game features most of Batman's major rogues gallery: Joker, Two-Face, Clayface, lots of faces, Riddler, Deadshot, Bane, they're all here. But it wouldn't be a Batman game if it wasn't focused in on the clown prince of crime, the Joker. The main setup for Arkham City is unbelievable. Just watch this cutscene and I'll explain why this is so good when it's done.
You!
Get out of my way, Quinn.
Leave us alone, B-Man! Just leave me with him.
I said move!
This is all your fault!
You fell for the old fake Joker gang, Batman.
Batter up!
Get back here, Harley.
But I want to know who he is, sweetie.
No one's who you think they are, my dear. Why spoil the fun?
It was all a lie. There's nothing wrong with you.
Nice of you to say, but you of all people should know there's plenty wrong with me. Take my blood, for example. I wish somebody would. This stuff is killing me.
Why should I care?
Because now there's a teeny little bit of me in you too, Bats. Oh, come on. Don't tell me it's not what you've always wanted. Look, we're running out of time. I need your help. I nearly had a cure. It was so close, and then it was taken from me.
So we both die. I'm fine with that.
Are you? Imagine sucking down that last breath knowing that Gotham is doing the same.
What are you talking about?
Oh, didn't I say? I've spent weeks shipping samples of my blood to emergency rooms all over the city.
So that's Protocol 10. Poison Gotham. I expected more.
Protocol 10? Never heard of it. Hold tight. I'll be in touch!
So, as you saw the Joker, after feeling the effects of Titan, the drug Bane uses to become this, after the finale of Arkham Asylum, the Joker has been dying. The drug has slowly infected his blood and been slowly killing him for months now. Arkham City takes place around a year after Asylum, so we can confidently assume he's been feeling the effects pretty heavily since then. Joker says he sent vials of his blood to hospitals across Gotham, but this is Arkham City's first mistake. Fake stakes. I genuinely don't think while playing this, anyone who played it even remembered this plot point until Robin shows up about 4 hours later. Oh yeah, I should have probably mentioned Robin's here too, yay. The Joker threatening a city we've never been to and people we don't see doesn't really add anything to the story, but it does give us the setup to this image, so that's a bonus. But as I just said, these stakes are useless. Informing the player that Batman, Batman is dying is more than enough to instill a sense of urgency into the player. Joker also informs us that he's put some of his infected blood, and definitely incompatible blood, into Batman. And although he had Mr. Freeze working on a cure, the once respected scientist has stopped responding to his calls. So that's the setup, we know the stakes. But these stakes are different. They actually, for the first time in video games or films, place the Dark Knight and the Jonkler on the same page, and on the same journey, both hurtling towards death before the night's over. Joker plays his wild card, and in doing so actually puts his best friend in the whole world on his team for once. If Batman can't find a cure, then it doesn't matter to him because they'll both die together anyway. However, if he does find a cure, then that's great. His plan works and the Joker knows Batman won't just not give him the cure because of his strict no-killing rule. Whoever decided to go this route for the story needs a knighthood, because this is such a great premise for a game. Rather than just Batman and Joker fighting over the cure, by doing this you have them both fighting to find the same cure, and Joker doesn't really need to do anything. This setup allows for so many different options when it comes to portraying the Joker. Usually he's funny, irrational, and pretty carefree in his actions, but this setup of him being this close to death means we get to see the real Joker. We see how far he's willing to go to survive, and this side of Joker isn't something we usually ever see. He gets desperate enough to infect Batman to help him find the cure, which in turn places Batman on the same track as him. We see the differences between the two characters and how they go about handling this. Batman is calculated and clearly not fazed by the imminent threat of death, as being fazed would get in the way of the mission and finding the cure. Whereas the Joker is bricking it basically. He's that desperate he's willing to infect Batman, and he's willing to go as far as is necessary to survive. Immediately, Batman goes to track down Mr. Freeze, the only man in Arkham City who would be able to make such a complicated cure. After some shenanigans with a shark, a penguin, and a actual genuine zombie, Freeze tells us that although he did make a cure, it was too unstable and broke down inside the subject's body before it could have an effect on the subject. And Batman already knows someone with regenerative abilities, but more importantly, human blood that's already bonded to the regenerative enzyme Freeze needs to put in the cure. Enter Ra's al Ghul. Now, Ra's al Ghul is a character which is hard to handle, given the fact that through the use of his Lazarus Pit, he's able to essentially heal any ailment that he has, and yes, this does involve coming back from the dead. I'm sure you can see the issue with that. Ra's is handled really well in the game though. His daughter Talia and Batman have always been an on and off item, and Talia wants Batman to be by her side to lead Ra's army, the League of Shadows, when Ra's inevitably does die, a sentiment that's actually shared by Ra's himself. Ra's tells Batman that he'll give him some of his blood for the cure if he kills him and takes his place at the head of the League. Obviously Batman declines the whole killing idea, and we have our first giant set piece boss fight, and one that's as interesting to look at as it is clearly inspired by another iconic Arkham boss fight. The whole boss fight is a drug-induced trip, I think. I'm not really sure how we get here where we are now, but we do. And after taking Ra's down, we head back to Freeze, but as we're traversing the rooftops, we rescue the ex-warden of Arkham Asylum, Quincy Sharp, the one who set this whole thing up, remember? Yeah, this is where Batman discovers what you discovered about 5 minutes ago, and we carry on back to Freeze. Strap in, because this is going to be a long one. I present to you the greatest boss fight ever in the history of boss fights that involve scientists who are cold. The Mr. Freeze, Batman Arkham City boss fight. I've said boss fight so many times, oh my god.
Impressive, Batman. I doubted you would actually return.
I'm a man of my word, Victor. You should know that by now.
The formula is complete. Bonding process appears to have been successful. How are you feeling? You look unwell.
Give it to me.
I'm afraid I cannot do that, Batman. You have given me your last order.
This is not a time for negotiation.
I think it is. The clown has my wife. Bring her back to me.
You don't want to do this, Freeze.
Oh, I believe I do. You will bring me Nora, or you will die.
Freeze challenges everything you've learned thus far, where it comes to taking down foes. Whereas Ra's al Ghul required you to spam the remote electrical charge, and the Abramovici twins stood there acting more like mobile punching bags than a credible threat, Freeze learns. He knows what you, the experienced Arkham veteran, will do, and he'll let you get away with it the first time. But not again. Batman tells Oracle, his woman in the chair, to pull the schematics of Freeze's suit. But the real danger here isn't the suit or the gun. It's the man in the suit. Like Maverick once said,
"It's not the plane, sir. It's the pilot." Exactly.
And this doesn't apply to anywhere better than this boss fight. The suit might not pose a threat by itself, but the ex-scientist turned supervillain within it certainly does. You can't spam punches and gadgets like a madman. This time you need to think, and to think hard. You spent the game mowing through unfortunate thugs and criminals who fall after a few well-timed punches and kicks, but Freeze is too powerful in a head-on fight. so that's all pretty redundant. However, the countless rooms of armed thugs you've gone through, that's where you need to remember back to. On easy difficulty, Freeze takes 3 takedowns, normal takes 5, hard takes 8, and the new game plus mode takes a whopping 9 different attacks. You'll have to get creative. One more thing, Freeze isn't stupid. He learns and adapts to your attempts of beating him. On easy or normal, this won't be as big of an issue, but when venturing into the higher difficulties, you'll need to use everything you've learned to take on the Iceman, because he prevents your previous attack from working again. Freeze's boss fight is the only one of its kind in the series, and makes you think. To delve into the depths of your own skill set, even after doing this fight countless times, I forget ways to take him down. It's a test of ability and endurance, as Freeze throws his own attacks at you. He can track the heat of your footsteps, use freeze grenades, and let's not forget about that giant freeze gun. So you can't just walk right in front of him without him probably taking your head off with one of these attacks. Well, you can actually use his own tracking ability against him. Much like regular thugs, Freeze can be manipulated into going where you need him to go. You can get a free couple of attacks on him if you go where you want him to go, and let him follow you again, adding another layer of depth onto the boss fight. Alright, so we've thawed the fridge, it's time to check on that cure. Before this fight, Freeze did actually make it. He broke one out of anger, but he also put one in a safe. And during the fight, Harley Quinn took it. She stole it out of the safe and took it back to the steel mill for the Joker. Freeze, now having come around to the idea of actually helping Batman, hands him the newest gadget to hop in on the action, the Freeze Blast. It's a useful little thing, being able to make rafts to traverse across the water, freeze enemies in place, or stop steam burning Batman. It really is an nice little addition to the utility belt. Anyway, let's head to the Gotham City journalist Vicky Vale's helicopter has been shot down by the Clown Prince of Crime. So after taking out some snipers, saving the reporter, and setting up a side mission, we make our way to the steel mill. This late on into the night, Joker's men have well and truly got a hold on the industrial district. And by hold of the industrial district, I mean they've all got snipers and assault rifles. We head through the back door of the steel mill and make our way through it once again. This time, once we fight, sneak and ice raft our way through the mill, we finally see Joker. Joker looks normal. Harley must have given him the cure. Batman and the Joker fight, but obviously the Joker never stood a chance in a one-on-one fight, meaning the Joker levels the playing field with countless thugs, a Titan-enhanced henchman like we saw back at the museum, and Mr. Hammer, who's come back for round 2. We already beat Mr. Hammer earlier, and his brother. Look, it's not a good day for them, alright, but it's a good day for us because it gets us a sweet, sweet combo. We take them down, and while doing so, Protocol 10 finally begins, and after the steel mill roof is brought down and Batman is seemingly down and out, we get introduced to our favourite feline female, Catwoman, who helps Batman out of the rubble, but not before Talia al Ghul, in an attempt to save Batman's life, offers the Joker the key to immortality, and offers him the Lazarus Pit, before showing Batman she's used the tracker he placed on one of her guards earlier to track her down, and she stuck it on herself so Batman can track her down and take the Joker down in the process. Now, we're getting to the meat of the story. As it stands, Joker is en route to immortality, Batman still doesn't have the cure, Strange is still commanding his forces, and most importantly, Protocol 10 has begun. The plan to wipe out the criminal contingent of Gotham City is in full effect. Helicopters flood the sky above, and they rain down rockets, slaughtering thousands. Protocol 10 was never just a plan to capture the criminals of the city, it was an organised execution. It turned Arkham City into a shooting gallery. As Batman leaves the steel mill through a hole in the roof of the building, he asks Alfred and Oracle to reroute all Wayne Tech satellites to track Talia's tracker. But right here is one of the best scenes in the whole game. As the title music plays, Batman must make a choice. Saving the woman he loves and letting thousands die, or taking down Strange and stopping Protocol 10, leaving Talia in the hands of the Joker. Even to this day, this scene gives me goosebumps. The ever so slightly modified main theme ramps up as Batman tells Oracle to shut down Arkham City remotely, while also telling Alfred he needs to save Talia. Alfred tells Batman he can't let him do that, and that, at the end of the day, Gotham needs Batman. Batman eventually agrees and says he'll shut down Protocol 10 and beat Strange, and then go after Talia after he's done with that. After scanning the surrounding helicopters for the master control key which will let him into Wonder Tower, the main base of Hugo Strange, we have a really interesting encounter with him on the TV.
Man, we need to talk. And I know you wouldn't be able to live with yourself if your actions caused this poor man to die. I have a question for you. Before my arrival, this city was drowning under a tide of filth. Have you ever considered that all this is your fault? Your presence creates these animals. Like germs, they spread. You created the environment that allowed the germ to mutate, to become stronger. Look at the Joker. Would he even exist if not for you? It must be depressing. All your sacrifices, and yet you are the one to blame. Oh, this is beautiful. We have at long last defeated the great Batman. Soon, I will take my rightful place at my master's side. We will rule over this world. So thank you, Batman, for all your help. Now, kill him!
Remember where I said Strange used to be a psychiatrist at the asylum? Well, this is where he flexes those psychiatrist muscles. He almost cuts a WWE-like promo on Batman, telling him how his mission to make Gotham a safe place is basically meaningless. His presence seems to only make things worse. Using the Joker as an example, he begins to question the Joker's very existence, asking the question that if Batman had never put on the cape and cowl, would the Joker even exist? And if he did, would he have been nearly as bad without the presence of someone who he feels he's playing a big game of cat and mouse with? This whole spiel's a really interesting bit of dialogue. Strange accuses Batman of creating the perfect environment for the criminals of Gotham to thrive in, and in a way it's hard not to agree with the Professor's evaluation. And this leans into the theory that although Batman is Gotham's protector, he's also the worst thing that's ever happened to it. And like Commissioner Gordon says in Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, it's all escalation. If you arm yourselves with body armour, they'll bring armour-piercing rounds. You bring a gun, they'll bring a tank. This applies to the villains of Gotham in the Arkham franchise. Batman's in a constant battle with crime, and when he escalates his tactics to stop the crime escalates to try and outdo his tactics. To try and beat Batman in the most grandiose way possible. Strange, in one of his final appearances in the game, fairly far into the game's third act, finally lives up to his title. This is something Arkham City's been criticised for. The main villain of the game is on screen for about 6 to 7 minutes throughout the entire game, and it takes the spotlight off of his master plan. We actually hear him talking over tannoys of the city, telling us how imminent Protocol 10 is.
Protocol 10 will commence in 4 hours.
More than we see him in person. Some might argue this works to the game's favour, leaving Strange as a background threat does make more sense in context to his character, as much like the Joker, he wouldn't be that much of a physical threat to Batman. But it's still something to think about when talking about the game's story, and the story in context to the rest of the game's events. Hugo Strange is a great villain, while simultaneously being completely useless at being a villain. While he gets the psychological win over Batman in the first scene of the game, his presence was never really felt after that. But it is felt, and his presence kind of gets overshadowed when dealing with Batman's more dangerous physical threats like Bane, Deadshot, or even Mr. Freeze. You almost forget Batman's identity, and thus the entire character of the Batman is at stake, and this links into another one of Batman Arkham City's cardinal sins, and that's, well, Batman himself. Let me set a scene for you. A situation to try and put yourself in, and think how you'd react to something like this. You've recently been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness that will kill you before the end of the day. The doctors can't find a cure for this illness, and it's not looking great for you. While you're in the hospital, you get told someone in the room has distributed this disease that you have out to thousands of other people, and everyone with it will be dead by the time the day is over. You then get a phone call from an unknown number telling you that they've found that strange video you made in 2013 with your teddy bear, and they'll release it if you try to stop them doing so. And this video will ruin your life and put your friends and family in danger from people on the internet swatting your house. How would you, a human who feels the full spectrum of emotion, deal with this? Tears? Anger maybe? Confusion? A fit of pure madness? Well, no. If you answered yes to any of these, then you're not fit to protect Gotham, because in Arkham City, Batman never so much as flinches at any of these life-altering pieces of news. Now, let's set something straight here. I'm in no way saying Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, did anything wrong. Nor am I blind to the fact that yes, Batman is supposed to be a generally stoic character. But come on, man, like, this is unreal. He doesn't even tell Oracle what to do in case he dies after being told he's literally got like a minute to live, and with no guarantee of a cure at that point, he's all but dead. Arkham City's Batman is a robot. I'm genuinely convinced he doesn't let out a whimper when he stubs his toe, because this guy is a machine. In Arkham Knight, the game's sequel, we see Batman at his lowest point, and you can feel that throughout the game. He's being broken mentally and pushed to his limits physically. You see him crumble to the weight of seeing one of his proteges commit suicide, albeit in a hallucination. You feel and hear his voice when he discovers his dead son is stood across from him with a gun pointed at his head. But in this game, it's like the animation team forgot to animate Batman doing anything that wasn't a stoic and smouldering stare into the abyss. But the difference between this Batman and the one in Arkham Knight is that the one in Arkham Knight stared into the abyss, and when it stared back, he blinked. Whereas the Arkham City Batman just gave it a firm stare and moved on. We heard this side of him more. He's supposed to be a calm, composed and methodical character, but he's also human. And after my 18 years of being a Batman fan, I've never seen a Batman this genuinely emotionless. Anyhow, back to stopping Protocol 10. We end up at the top of Wonder Tower and finally confront Hugo. Here we see Batman snap a bit, throwing Strange across his own headquarters as Strange tells him how beautiful Protocol 10 is, and how he's done what the great Batman never could. But just as his lamenting comes to its crescendo, he's stabbed. Stabbed by none other than Ra's al Ghul. This is where Batman finds out that Strange was just Ra's puppet, and before we know it, Wonder Tower has been blown up, and as we hit the ground, Ra's meets a sharp end. Joker reminds us that we still need to rescue Talia though. So we head to the Monarch Theatre, the spiritual birthplace of Batman, and Joker stands on the stage with Talia at gunpoint before, well, I think it's probably best you watch this scene for yourself so you can make your own judgment, and I can't explain it any better than the game actually just showing you it.
Now you want to talk. Too late, Batman. Give me the cure.
But you've already got the cure. Talia, no!
Problem solved.
You didn't need to.
Why? You would never do it. You left me no choice.
There's always a choice.
I had to save you. Harley Quinn stole it for him. I took it back. It's over.
Surprise!
Oh, Mr. J, you look perfect.
Ring, ring. So how do you keep a secret from the world's greatest detective? Well, do you know? You stick it right in front of him, right under his long, pointy nose, and wait.
Joker wants you to think he's sick. Then wait. Gotcha.
You fell for the old fake Joker gag, Batman.
Talia!
I'm sorry, beloved. I didn't know.
In one of the best plot twists in modern gaming, probably, I'm not going to pretend I've played all the games that have come out in the last 20 years, it's revealed that the Joker was never really healed, and we really did all fall for the old fake Joker gag. As the Dark Knight pieces this all together, Talia's shot through the heart, and proves she does give love a bad name, as Batman is just too late to warn her, as the real, unhealed Joker tells Batman that at times like this, it's best to keep up appearances. The dead Joker on the floor begins to morph into a giant clay monster, and here he is, the final boss fight of Batman Arkham City, Clayface. The former actor turned supervillain had been playing Joker this whole time. Well, most of it. This makes perfect sense, and although it might not hit the same way for someone who hasn't played the game, once you've played through the game, this is an amazingly executed twist, and fits perfectly in line with the Joker's character. In the background of the game, there's actually been a gang war going on, between Joker, Penguin, and Two-Face. And changes can be seen in the open world as different gangs begin to turn the tide of power throughout the prison. So in times like this, the Joker wouldn't have wanted to appear weak to his troops, so to speak. So hired Clayface to play him, and Clayface used to be an actor, so this does make sense. Earlier on when we fought Joker in the steel mill, you might have noticed that he didn't have a skeleton. Well, that's because we were actually fighting Clayface, and upon a second or even third replay, you might notice a little few of these hints that actually, in one case, literally tell us we haven't been fighting the real Joker for most of the story. Back to the theatre, and we start the Clayface boss fight. Using a mixture of the freeze blast provided by Mr. Freeze and Talia's sword, we start to slowly dismantle the Clayface. This boss fight is one of the most sort of okay boss fights ever. It's not good, it's not great, but the setting of the fight and the stakes make up for the lack of real challenge akin to the freeze fight we had earlier on. The boss fight isn't anything outstanding, but it does let us use Batman with a sword, and that's pretty cool. The second stage of the fight sees Joker blow the floor of the theatre, and this sends both Batman and Clayface into the Lazarus Chamber, the place where we initially fought Ra's al Ghul earlier on. Clayface falls into the pit and Batman fights off hundreds of his clay minions, I guess that's what they're called, and after successfully taking down the Clayster with the sword of Al Ghul in his own backyard, Batman finally gets his hands on the cure and takes a well-deserved swig. I'll let the rest of the scene play out and we'll talk about it afterwards because I can't quite describe it well enough to do it justice, so I'll see you on the other side.
Get out of my way, bats! I've got a date with immortality! No! 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 Quick! The cure! What are you waiting for? Come on! I killed your girlfriend, poisoned Gotham and hell. It's not even breakfast. But so what? We all know you'll save me.
Every decision you've ever made ends with death and misery. People die. I stop you. You'll just break out and do it again.
Think of it as a running gag! No! Are you happy now?
Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
That actually is pretty funny.
Movements coordinated.
What the...
What the hell happened in there? Batman! What happened?
So, we've reached the end of the story. But, more importantly, the end of the Jokers. Throughout Arkham City, the Joker and Batman were barreling towards death. But like Jack Nicholson's Joker before him, this Joker couldn't quite laugh in the face of death this time. I remember seeing this the first time when I played it, and, well, I remember thinking he'd spring back to life, or something at least, but no. Rocksteady, in the second game of their franchise, actually had the balls to kill off the Joker. Now obviously in hindsight this didn't matter because he'd appear in the other two Arkham games, but Batman's reaction to this is pretty much the audience's. Clearly shook up because the Joker is actually dead, but also probably relieved. The whole scene's just amazing. In his final moments, the Joker is genuinely pathetic. He's lapping up the Cure from the ground like a sick dog. A character as loved as the Joker was always going to go out on a high note, right? After a fight with Batman atop the Gotham Cathedral. Well, no. He just dies. Like a normal human, the Joker just dies. No special ending or grand hurrah, because just like us or Batman, the Joker is a human deep down. In his final moments he shows you who he really is. He's scared, and he was scared enough to hire an actor to show strength when all along he was dying. And in the end, the Joker killed himself because of this fear. He stabs Batman in the arm, holding the Cure. If he wasn't as desperate and would have just waited an extra few seconds, he'd have found Batman would have handed him it anyway. Because, obviously, he has the no-kill rule. Batman even outright tells him he'd have let him live. And I think this interaction perfectly shows the two conflicting sides of the protagonist and the antagonist. Batman and Joker are in the same position all night. But Batman chose to do things the right way, so to speak. Through grit and pure willpower, he didn't give up and eventually got the Cure. Whereas the Joker tried stealing the Cure and tricking everyone through the use of a body double, and still ended up dying due to his own sheer desperation. Batman shows why he's one of the greatest characters ever penned, animated and written. He wins by doing the right thing even in the faces of the worst circumstances. And this is why he's been such an enduring character, since all the way back from 1939. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't who was under the cowl that mattered. It's what he did throughout the game that defined him, and ultimately led to the Joker's death to close out this tightly woven narrative. But a good game has gameplay to complement this narrative, and that's why games like Arkham City thrived in the gaming landscape, even today. The gameplay complements the narrative and vice versa. Arkham City encourages you to use all of Batman's different gadgets to fight your way through the story and side missions, but I guarantee most of you don't. Well, if you've played the game obviously. The game never tells you can jump off one enemy to attack another from the air, nor does it tell you can use the remote electrical charge, a gun that fires bolts of electricity, to knock down armoured thugs instantly. And it certainly doesn't show you that you can do this.
What? It came from over here, I'm sure of it!
This is depth. Arkham's combat builds on the innovative free-flow combat system Rocksteady brought to us in Arkham Asylum, and makes it more. The combat is a system of two halves. Mashing the attack button and countering when told is one half and is what most players will do. This is what the game expects of you, but this isn't where Arkham Asylum's foundations leave us. No, they take us higher than ever. Arkham City not only allows for free-flowing and fluid combat without Batman's armoury of gadgets, but also allows Batman to use nearly every single one of these gadgets to aid him. With the introduction of quick-fire gadgets, the player can seamlessly integrate a batarang to hit a thug grabbing a weapon across the arena, and a batclaw to bring a target closer for a clothesline from hell. All of this is enhanced when using one of your hard-earned Wayne Tech points in the Upgrades tab to unlock free-flow gadget enhancements. Now the real fun can begin. Crowd control becomes a breeze. Fire your rec gun into the crowd to string together with a train of lightning, build your combo up and use another ability to take down 5, 6, 7 or however many enemies you can at once. Combine this with the ability to activate these special attacks after a hit combo of 5 instead of 8, and Arkham City really begins to flex its muscles. But it doesn't end there. Arkham City encourages you to really flex what you have in your arsenal. Using several different methods of attack not only gets you all those important style points, but also makes for a quicker, harder hitting and more skillful experience. I remember being a small boy and playing Arkham City in front of one of my friends, Dylan, and Dylan wasn't convinced that even at the age of 11 I was an Arkham prodigy. He blamed this on the button mashing I was doing. It was X, Y, X, X, Y, Y, X, blah 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 blah. But once I grew up and started delving into the Arkham combat system, it became much more than that. Arkham Asylum was accused of having a very low skill ceiling, and Arkham City made this complaint redundant. Yeah, you can get through the story by button mashing, but once you start drinking from the well of free flow gadgets, you get addicted. I can't remember the last combat encounter I had that didn't involve a batarang or a batclaw, a bat swarm to stun the crowd, or a quick-fire explosive gel to knock out the surrounding thugs vying for the fame that could come with killing the bat. But I think it's time we slowed down. Ahead of us lies a room full of gun-wielding thugs that need to be taken care of. In Asylum, this was as one note as it got. See those gargoyles? They used to be the focal point of these encounters. Wait for an unsuspecting henchman to walk into your trap and bang, you had all the blood rushing to the head within a few seconds. Rinse and repeat. Maybe chuck in a glide kick on the last man standing and you were done. But Arkham City doesn't want this. The first time we're faced with the prospect of being shot in the face, the game tells us in giant writing, do not use the gargoyles this time. It tells us instead to get down on the criminal's level. Not in a moral sense, but in a physical one. The reverse ledge takedown, the environmental takedown, and the double silent takedown all allow you to stalk your prey like God intended you to do. You're not trapped in this room with them, they're trapped in here with you. Much like the hand-to-hand combat and the limitations of doing what the game shows you, it's best to get creative with the gadgets in your belt. The Predator map is your canvas, and you are the Arkham City Picasso. A Batclaw can yank an unaware enemy over the edge of a walkway and take them out of the picture. A well-placed remote batarang can do the same, but with the added upside of not having to have the target directly in your line of sight, and the added drawback of it not being a guaranteed takedown. You need to learn how these things work before that happens. And a well-placed Sonic batarang is an instant takedown to late-game thugs. Just as you think you're getting to grips with being the king of the jungle, Hugo Strange, the Joker, and the Penguin start realising they'll need to arm their men to the teeth. In combat, armoured thugs provide an obstacle to think about when bouncing between enemies in pursuit of that sweet, sweet combo, but in a stealth encounter they had an all-new aspect. An armoured gun-toting mercenary or henchman provides the player with more depth. These guys can't be taken out silently. Usually a silent takedown's an instant win for the Cape Crusader, but not with these guys. They look at your silent takedown and spit in its face. You'll have to get creative. In combat, a remote electrical charge shot will send them flying into the other enemies, providing you with a bit of respite while you reposition. Rarely do you send an armoured thug flying back and follow up with a takedown, but in Predator, it's useless not to. Send the henchman flying back and take him down, or have him get back up while alerting every other thug in the arena to your approximate location. There's a clear trade-off here. An instant knockdown at the expense of losing your element of surprise. Okay, so what about we try using the faithful Batclaw? Okay, that works, but they all know where I am now. I'm stood in the open and getting shot like a target at a shooting gallery. This isn't their gallery though, remember. You're the Arkham City Picasso and you won't have your spotlight stolen. Try something new. Maybe a smoke bomb combined with the rec gun will do the trick. It has. Armoured thug is taken down and, well, they don't know where I've gone. Well, most of them don't know where I've gone. Enter the clown with the thermal gear. You thought the thugs in this game were stupid? Far from it. Not only will they destroy gargoyles if you use them too much, but towards the end of the night they'll equip themselves with thermal gargoyles, and scan gargoyles if they suspect Batman is there. They can also use these to see straight through your puny smoke bombs, completely killing that strategy. So once again, Arkham City makes you spend big. One upgrade point will make you invisible to these sensors, but only if you stay completely still, continuing the trend of trade-offs in stealth. The upside is these henchmen go down just like any other, but their presence in the game makes you think, makes you strategize, and makes you move differently. Arkham City's combat and stealth is all aided by the tight and fluid movement in place, again building off Arkham Asylum's foundations, and adding a host of new ways to traverse the prism. Arkham Asylum's gliding felt like you were always going to hit the ground after being in the air for long enough. Arkham City doesn't let you hit the ground if you don't want to. The addition of the grapnel boost allows Batman to go the whole length and breadth of the city without touching the torn apart streets once. When Batman hooks onto a point to grapnel onto, the player double taps A and sends Batman high into the skyline of the city, meaning that combined with a dive bomb, the possibilities are just about endless. Arkham City AR gliding challenges hone these skills, letting the player take on a few short challenges that set a route to glide through, combining dive bombing to gain height and speed while balancing the wind under your cape so you don't overshoot your target is an art form, in the same way gliding around the city is in the late game setting. The thugs are armed and dangerous. Movement around the city was once a free pass. You were high above the scum below, even the ones that occupied the rooftop, but the criminal element of Arkham City's thugs have evened the odds with AR-15s and grenades. It makes you think. The once safe skies have now become target practice. Getting from point A to point B takes thought and consideration as the game goes on, and the night draws to a close. Using traversal well can be the difference between life and death. If you start getting shot at, dive bomb, manoeuvre or drop into the streets below and use your combat skills, grapple just under the shooter who forced you into this situation in the first place, boost and you can take him down instantly. Another case of Arkham City's hidden features. If you grapnel under someone stood near a ledge and boost, you can turn yourself into a human net of sorts, scoop them up and slam them down. This will alert everyone around, but you're in the open world now, no longer confined to the streets below or the rooms you're used to navigating in usual stealth scenarios, so you can simply leave, reposition and come back later. Repositioning to come back and take down the foes vying for your cowl is as easy as delving into the tight and responsive movement that Arkham City lets you control the Caped Crusader with. Using the left stick allows Batman to move with purpose and a bit of swagger. I mean, look at that stride. Arkham Asylum let Batman grapnel onto various ledges, but the animation between climbing the ledge and moving forward was slow, dull, and brought the game to a screeching halt whenever it was time to mantle a ledge. But as the old saying goes, Arkham City doesn't make this mistake, it expands on the mistake. By holding A as Batman reaches the apex of his climb, a player can seamlessly roll using the momentum of the grapnel gun and carry on making up ground. But it doesn't stop there. Combine this new fluid animation with the running slide, and you've actually added a new weapon to your utility belt. Not only does City make Batman stronger in movement and more useful in pursuits, but it also allows for him to turn his spandex-clad body into a weapon. While running, the player can initiate a slide and turn the thugs of Gotham City into movable bowling pins. This slide, combined with the fluidity of combat, can turn into an invaluable tool. Being able to clear out the battlefield beforehand can even the odds way more than you'd think. Taking out one or even two thugs before you've even thrown a punch can not only add to your combo meter, but also those sweet style points. Arkham City's map lets the movement flourish and spread its leather wings. The map is split into 4 parts, so to say. Penguin's Turf at the museum, Two-Face's area in the central area of the map, and Joker's steel mill in the bottom right hand corner, along with the subway, sewers and Wonder Tower, sort of at the bottom middle there. Above ground, the map serves as a horseshoe shape. The worst possible shape for a map, in all honesty. The above ground map is flawed in layout. There's a reason why no one's ever used this since, and that's because it sucks. The map's disconnected in a way that I don't think Rocksteady quite realised. The fact you can't easily connect the bottom left and bottom right turf of the map because of the walls of the prison is just a weird choice. And although it does help with the prison feel, not even Batman can freely roam without entering the sewers, but this takes away from the Batman fantasy. You're supposed to be above all of this, not within it. Backtracking is something the game makes you do a fair bit, and Arkham City's map is not built for backtracking. It's a fundamentally flawed map, however, it's somehow perfectly designed. Each district feels unique, and by the halfway point of your first playthrough, you can easily identify whereabouts you are. The gothic, grandiose architecture combined with the 3-layer setup of Penguin's Turf lets you know you're near the museum. The beacon of the Ace Chemicals building and the charred courthouse lets you know you're in Two-Face's area, and the towering smelting towers and broken streets leading to the icy water below lets you know that you're in the Clown Prince of Crime's place. Seeing the aura of the Ace Chemical sign as you glide through the streets and the criminals below is a classic sight for any seasoned Arkham City player. Where City's map layout lacks, the design makes up for it. The unique landmarks and architecture let the player get comfortable in each district of the map and make sure that in the story the player knows where they are and what they're dealing with at any given point. Arkham Asylum had a fairly small map, but Arkham City went bigger, and in doing so lost the atmosphere of the old asylum. But again, relaxing, haunting atmosphere and creepy lore, City makes up for in side stories. Throughout the game we collect different stories which add to the lore of the game's surroundings immensely, and they add immensely to the overall feeling of the game. Being able to look at a building and know why it is the way it is because you paid attention to the surroundings and side stories really adds something unique to the overall map design and the map's overall feel. I think Arkham City has actually one of the best designs in the franchise, but falls short when it comes to the core layout. Having Wonder Tower be the focus of the city makes sense. It adds the feeling that Hugo Strange is always observing his creation and, more importantly, you as the player, but it does cut off two sides of the map from each other in such an unnatural way they had to figure out a way to connect them and thus decided to use the sewers. This isn't me saying the underground portion of the game feels tacked on, far from it actually, but they aren't somewhere you'd go to visit after the main story or after collecting the Riddler trophies. The underground of Arkham City is neglected and feels like something no one talks about, despite its great lore and atmosphere. There's only one time in the entirety of Arkham City that I felt that nostalgic, sort of vintage Arkham Asylum atmosphere, and that's when making my way through Wonder City. The voice over the tannoy speaking about the end of Gotham and the Earth opening and how Wonder City would be safe and secure from all these horrific events as remnants of the once futuristic city lay around me, almost frozen in time, adds so much to the world.
Cities like Gotham will grow to resemble hell breaking through the sidewalk, continuing up into the sky. Structures will grow to blot out the sun, and the people who live in them will be choked by the pollution they create. Eventually, when no space remains, this world will die, struggling for breath as man's mistakes fail.
There! Everywhere!
But this doesn't have to be your future, Gotham. There is a better way. Behind this wall is mankind's chance for survival. A glimpse of the future based on an amazing discovery. A discovery that will allow Gotham to rise like Lazarus, becoming a beacon of hope for this world. Are you intrigued? Then step closer. Witness the future of Gotham City. The heart of Gotham's future beats with Lazarus technology. The power of Lazarus is pumped into every street, every home, providing clean, safe energy. Mechanical guardians will serve you, watch over you, and, where necessary, protect you from the worst of mankind's sins. But most importantly, our beautiful world will survive. Ladies and gentlemen, allow us to present to you the future. Wonder City.
Seeing the inmates from Arkham Asylum strung up after being killed is haunting, as genuinely one of the most harrowing points in the game. But I just feel like this could have been so much cooler and more engaging if we had a reason to travel through this. But enough of that. I think I can hear a cat at the door.
It's Batman!
What the hell?
Sorry to disappoint you, boys. It's just little old me.
Catwoman is almost a secondary protagonist in the game. In fact, the Batman video game actually opens with Catwoman if you own the expansion or the remastered Return to Arkham edition for the next generation consoles. Catwoman's story interweaves with Batman's, and occasionally throughout the story you'll switch to her and play through her story. She begins by stealing something from Two-Face before being captured by the former district attorney. Batman rescues her, and she eventually wants to steal something from Hugo Strange's personal vault, which, with the help of Poison Ivy, she actually ends up doing, before then going to save Batman from the steel mill at the start of the third act of the game. Fun little side note, if you choose to leave Batman here and start your new life with your stolen goods, the credits roll and we actually hear this pretty harrowing bit of dialogue.
It's not like he'll die. It's Batman, right?
Screw him.
Joker's forces are too strong. My father's dead. Now everybody's dead. We're going to lose. Wayne Manor has been compromised. Joker's won. I can't believe I'm saying this. He's won. There's nothing we can do. Bruce is dead. He's gone. They're all gone. If you can hear this, send help, please.
Now, this obviously isn't the canon ending to the game, but it's still pretty cool. Catwoman doesn't feel tacked on. She has a whole unique movement system, combat system, stealth system, different moves, her own upgrades, and even as we just touched on, her own story, which weaves pretty seamlessly into the main narrative. Catwoman's inclusion brings new challenges in movement, but she doesn't have a cape or a grapnel gun, but what she does have is a whip. And if you master this timing-based movement system, you can almost cover ground faster than the Dark Knight himself. Rocksteady didn't need to include this entire other fleshed out character that most people who bought the game back in 2012 wouldn't have even known existed. But the attention to detail that went into her inclusion is appreciated, as she adds a whole new layer of depth to this game's already deep layer of combat, movement and stealth. Her gadgets don't work as well as Batman's in combat, but with enough time you can weave them into your combos pretty seamlessly. Her movement, although tricky, is still fun, and keeps you on your paws. Overall, Catwoman is an engaging inclusion to the game. Obviously, she isn't perfect, but what is? Arkham City itself isn't perfect. I'm not going to lie and tell you it's a perfect game because such a thing simply doesn't exist. My bias towards the game won't stop me from admitting that, although arguably the best in its genre, it isn't perfect. Plenty of flaws we've spoken about in this video have highlighted some of its greatest downfalls, and although those downfalls are few and far between, and Arkham City is a bona fide, genuine masterpiece, it has problems, but the highs, they're pretty high. Arkham City is depth. Arkham City is the benchmark for modern superhero games. It is the perfect sequel. Its willingness to try new things and expand on old things makes for one of the finest narrative-driven games of its generation, and any generation. Arkham City is a labour of love at the end of the day, a portrait of Batman painted by Picasso himself, a showcase of what superhero games can be if given a love and care. Not only that, but on a personal level, Arkham City grew my love for one of my favourite characters even further. It showed me what some see as the definitive version of some of the most famous comic book characters at their finest. Kevin Conroy plays Batman in a way that only he could. Mark Hamill makes the Joker sound as convincing as ever, and I genuinely believe this might be his best performance as the Jester of Genocide. Arkham City defined a generation and inspired a generation of game developers to go forward and build on its formula. And although I don't think anyone's quite done that yet, its effects can be felt throughout gaming to this day over a decade later. Arkham City isn't perfect, but it's damn near close. Closer than anything got before, and closer than most things got after it. And after it seemed that most games had learned their limits and learned not to exceed them, much like Rocksteady, Batman Arkham City ignored them. It couldn't afford to know them. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.
coordinating.
What the?
What the hell happened in there? Batman! What happened?